Well guys, if you remember my last video, we talked about trying to eliminate the reason why this ram won't start. We tightened the fuel tubes, we replaced the fuel filter, we checked lift pump pressure, we checked rail pressure, everything was fine. It was still starting, but really hard. After I changed the fuel filter and everything though, it started a little bit easier, but still took a while to start. But guess what? Now it won't start at all. We're gonna get started on the injectors. Obviously everything's buttoned up from the last time I worked on it, but we are gonna get started. Okay, so now we just finished pulling out all the injector lines, all the fuel tube nuts, and the fuel tubes. So far, we spent probably about an hour. This is my first time doing this job. Probably you could do it faster, but these are the fuel tubes. So my understanding is that the way these seal is the tip crushes against the injector, like in the injector hole. So basically you have to swap out these tubes. But just inspecting them, they look really good. Okay, so this is after the valve cover and after removing one of the rockers. So do not touch these if you don't want to redo your valve adjustment. Okay, so after removing that rocker, now we can pull off these bolts which hold down the injector and then disconnect the terminals. Okay, so we just got the injectors out, all 6 of them. They're all right here. We put them in order that we took them out from. There's nothing really to see. I thought, you could see something wrong. Interestingly enough, number 6, so all the way at the end, when we pulled it out, it was kind of gushing diesel. So this could have been the culprit. This could have been the one leaking that would have caused a hard start, not building enough rail pressure. Because I mean, there was a lot of diesel there. But yeah, so everything's laid out here nice and tidy. So now we just gotta clean inside where the injectors go, and then time to pop in the new injectors. Okay, so here are the new injectors, as well as, sorry for my nails, as well as the fuel tubes. So there are some aftermarket options for the fuel tubes. I opted for the Bosch specifically because I want to, make sure we're using good parts. I'm only gonna do this job once, And here are the new injectors. So once again, it was $16.50 for all these parts here. So we got new injectors, new fuel tubes. So now we're gonna put them in. Okay, so we just got the injectors in. They're just put in place and popped into place, but they're not torqued down. So the bolts are just there, just hand tight. This is very important. You don't want to tighten them down yet because you want to put your fuel tubes in next. Fuel tubes go with these ball bearing things up. So you're gonna see there's only a certain position you can put them in. You can also put some oil on this O-ring here to help put them in. But basically you wanna put this in first, and then you wanna go ahead and torque down the injectors to 44 inch-pounds. Make sure it's inch-pounds, do all 6. Then once you do that, you're gonna go ahead and torque the nuts on these. Okay, so we just finished putting in the injectors, and we also put in the rocker arms, and we torqued down the injectors, and we torqued down the fuel tube nuts, and we torqued down the harness. I mean, you can just use common sense because it's plastic, so obviously you don't want to over torque it. But yeah, I guess the hardest one would be number 6. But yeah, now that we have everything put in, it's time to put on the valve cover. Okay, we just got the engine all back together, minus the top cover, which we're gonna put on, assuming everything works good. So what you hear clicking now is the grid heater. I'm gonna be monitoring my rail pressure. This part is not necessary upon first startup. I'm just curious. However, what is necessary is to bleed the system from what I've heard. So 5800 is what it should be at idle. And now I'm going to start the bleeding process. So I left 3 lines open, and I'm just going to crank it over a little bit. Okay, so we just finished bleeding the system now. We kept purging it. We basically left three of these nuts cracked. And, I heard that 5/9s bleed themselves, but I just wanted to be extra sure. So basically we left these 3 open, and we kept cranking it over until diesel came out, and then we tightened each individually. So this will be the first first startup. A little puff of smoke. Nice. Yeah, that's all there is to it. It's actually not a hard job. Don't let the shops intimidate you, because it's really not that bad. I did it with my dad. Big thanks to him. But honestly, this took total work time about 4 hours. It's just that we had lunch, you know, we went out, we were taking our time. It was like a fun thing. I wasn't in a rush. But if I were to do this job again, now that I know everything that's required, we could probably knock this out in maybe 2.5, 3 hours. It's really not bad at all. Okay, so now we're test driving it. We just took it on the highway. We're also monitoring the fuel pressure. So the top is what it's supposed to be at, and the bottom is what it's at. So as you can see, it's right there, spot on. So the issue with this truck wasn't that the fuel pressure wasn't consistent. It was just really, really hard starts. And pretty much I went down the line of eliminating everything. Like I said, fuel filter, the fuel pressure regulator, the actuator, the relief valve, like pretty much anything you can do besides the injectors. And everything was fine. So I knew it had to be the injector. So it was definitely probably a leaky injector, which made it like not able to start. So yeah, it's really nice that we took care of the problem. We did a couple starts one after the other and it started right up. So yeah, thanks for watching.